Hey, what's up, guys? It's Juan. It's just trying to let you know there's going to be a very good history that we're going to think about, the great history about Napa. So, hope you like to enjoy like all the very good histories that we're going to talk about, like the real life and the real true history about the Napa. So, hope you can get this right. It's going to be like a really good times when you used to have like one of those good old Native Americans. You know what I mean? They've been there since like Wapo days, when Wapo was a great land of the Native Americans in the California times. Great times. And plus, there's a lot of Mexicans that were around here, just they've been there for a while in that land when there used to be Alta California, New Spain, Mexico. What part of this land before when they were has been erased, like the whole time. They've been erased generations before, like all the Americans, they got Napa as a city. That city of Napa, they got it by Nathan Combs. He was from Boston, Massachusetts. He was a great man. He does all himself as a great mayor and and a great entity to help the people out to build up for like 20 buildings. 20 buildings is a lot. In downtown Napa, and then 20 houses in Napa or more. This is what happens when they can carry out like something more individual. You know what I mean? Like I've been thinking there was a lot of people there are trying to keep their heads up to to keep their own skills. All they do is just follow the game and then just follow all the leaderships and the people in the Napa. They're special about wine. Like winery like rapes. They never evolve one and they help each other for out or just for as a business. Like in 1839. But that's been a long time ago when they just started already. But they have few adobes around Napa. But it's everywhere. It's everywhere around the business. All they care is just they just have to keep all those good winery business to keep up because there's a lot of vineyards that they haven't built up so far. All they do is just they have to do this for fun. And by the way, there is a lot of people that are trying to be like in the good casual people or tourists. They've been there for a long time, but when they have those great people, they have been so far when they have a great people. It's a great memories. The old adobe that you're talking about, they owned by like Justin Almatuda's great great grandfather, Jose Almatuda, Altamura. Well, he's a great man. He owns Adobe, when he used to be a house. You know what I mean? And his cousins, like the other living like in around 1840s. Maybe you should ask Justin. He knows everything about the history is how Napa is. It's a great history. It's they got a great history. To give out of the good times. To just when it just for the beginning or just for the lifestyle. You know what I mean? All they do is just learn how to be a great city that we can learn on. Just for fun. And plus, there's more in the early history of the Napa days. So I'm gonna have to show you right now. But beavers are evolved in Napa, California. That's where the animals have ever been showed up, and that's the reason why they have it. And Napa Courthouse, they've been evolved since like 1851 when they started to put those people in jail. And then Napa Police Station did just start up, and then fire agent areas in downtown Napa too. They've been in there for a while too. And then Napa Clinic, well, it should be around somewhere in downtown too. but it used to be there for a long time too. Before the Napa State Hospital, that was been started up like since 1870s. Napa was been smaller back then, that's always been here to to have to deal with it, But it's not that bad, but you just have to just see how many businesses there can carry on. And that's it. And here's the scooping about the history, though. Well, since Napa became a statehood, there's more. But there was a clear lake when never been shown up for the white man's death, resulting in the soldiers and hunting down and killing all the natives they could find. All these people they were talking about there, they shouldn't have been just carrying the nonsense. But it's crazy. You know what I mean? That's always messed up all those good histories. And then and then Bell Grist Mill, that's when they used to be built in 1846. That's the one that's just been started where the river that was been next to it, like across around like Napa County area, but it's nearby San Helena. That's where the people that were just cut out there for come out of with water and coastal redwoods that they've been built on, because they're such a timber place, Pretty crazy. And then Rancho Entre Napa Mexican Land Grant, that's came from like Coombs to South Napa. South Napa owns like the Mexican Grant area of Napa. That's where my sister works, Well, if you want to know about my sister, about how great evolving the business is, well, you can ask, because there's a lot of people there and want to have to know about the histories of it, And then as per se, like in the mid 1850s, Napa's Main Street ritual that many of the larger cities has as many 100 saddle horses tied on the fences on average avenue. John Patchett, on the first commercial winery in the county, 1859. The vineyard and wine cellar located in the area is now within the city limits of Napa. The List Income movement established a facility and reading room over in the Architectural Society was started. The Napa Reporter founded the Alexander J. Cole in 1856 when they started the Napa Valley Register. But it doesn't evolve until like 1863 when they started like all those newspapers and stuff, But it's pretty cool when you know about those great histories about Napa days, it's pretty cool. They have a lot of histories about the good old Napa days, It's great. And then Tula Case Cemetery, that's the oldest cemetery that was been started up since like 1859. That's one of the oldest cemeteries that where Nathan Coombs lays there, and then especially the Gaetano Juarez, and then the rest of the people or they found it there in Napa for the whole time. But they are great people. You know what I mean? All of this is just the real people what we have in Napa. And that's the most insane people that we have so far in the Great Landing, That's pretty much what you need to know. And then and then the California Gold Rush of the late 1850s expanded Napa City, the first several winters in gold fields, that was the refuge of the young city from snow, cold, floods, and disease. They've been there in a while because, and plus they were elected along with Main Street. There was plenty of workers of the valley and disciplined miners. Many cattle ranches were maintained, and the lumber industry had greatly expanded. Sawmills in the valley were in operation to cut up timber was in the halted by the team in Napa and shipped out of the river to Benicia and San Francisco. That's where they shipped up before. It's not that bad. It's a great history of the 1800s. Before they built this house, like here in Liberty Drive, like the rest of the houses there, Napa used to build like one of those neighbor houses next to cemeteries and storages and ranchos, farmers, empty spots because floods that have been everywhere in this area. And several roads, the Old Sonoma Road, are the oldest roads ever. And the downtown Napa streets are the oldest roads ever. You know what I mean? So does Sasko and the old Sasko too. Even the Jenkins Street was the oldest one. Jefferson and Highway 29 area was the oldest one. And Solano Avenue was the oldest one too. Polo Avenue is the oldest one too. You know, they have the oldest areas that they just build like those roads. You know, like because it's been in like a small city when they evolved like one of those biggie cities that they've been evolved a lot. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? This is pretty crazy because people in the business, you could see like all those horses and Napa wine trains, you know, they've been started like since like 1863, you know, or 1860s, you know, they've been there for so long, and they've been have like one of those, like those empty size markets, you know, like in somewhere downtown, and then perennial outlets. They've been started a little bit, you know, in the half average age in the 19th century. You know, there's been a while for those half average centuries, you know. That's when before like gas stations and power usage that they've been started evolving those days. You know what I mean? But here's a history about that, because all of this is there was just been like 30,000 Wapos in 1843. You know what I mean? There's been a lot before they even decreases down to all those Native Americans. But they're really good people, you know, because the immigrations are the Asians and the Europeans. You know what I mean? But Europeans are the biggest dominations ever seen. You know what I mean? But it's a lot of people that have been evolved at this point. The most that they have. The most. And years more. And then there was the founder in the mission says San Francisco Solano. They've been having this Sonoma. Well, that's where they have it there too. But however, there's like many of those years they're probably evolved in the most points. And Napa was formed from one of those original 27 counties in California in 1849. That's where they've been started up. And then they built one of those roads like Coombs and 2nd Streets and by like 1854, because all of this is like made out of wood and dirt roads. They've been there in the wild since like Fur Street, Main Street, Cadet Street, and then downtown roads that they've been evolved like the 1854s. You know, they built like 40 buildings and then 40 houses too. You know, Napa always those have houses. You know, when they evolve like good houses. You know, they've been over trusted for good when they got the really good houses there. But the most of the mountain that they have, it's still always a great business, you know, and a great city, you know? Everything evolves into some good shit they could have enough to live in the big city. But it's not that bad. And plus, as immigrants flock to the west, the new town of the Napa, the hybrid, await a variety of European and Asian immigrants. And however, here's a scoop about those more people, what they have in there. And they built the several wineries in the area for digging in the tunnels for Schramsberg and Barino wineries. You know, many of them, they were just part of the vineyards in the small industries, including like Italians and Swiss, Swedish, and Germans. That's where all those people, they've been lived there in a while. In 1867, they built the Methodist Episcopal Church in Randolph and divisions for $600. African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church. You know, they used to have there for a while when they live in downtown the most. A lot. Before they moved to the church to Washington Street in between Clay and First Street. That's where all of these streets, they've been evolved for all those dirt roads and brick walls and all that, you know. But one of the places that's the oldest building is where Stone Brewing used to have been there. Stone Brewing used to be a great place since 2018, but they didn't have that much anymore. But it sucks, you know. It doesn't seem to look into it really well. And plus don't forget the St. John and Church, you know, they've been there in a while. That's the oldest building ever. They've been there before a while. But most of the buildings, they've been survived from the Napa floods, you know, like since the 1860s, you know. There's been a lot of craziness that there just been evolved into that stuff. But, however, they build more places that they've been going on, like in the 1870s or later, you know. It's bad when we never seen all those floods and then plus like heavy rains, you know. That's for sure, you know. That just looks pretty ugly at the most point. It's ugly. However, the steamboats connect Napa with the San Francisco between 1850 to 1870. The 1,147-foot vessel was the pride of the Napa River. Passenger and perishable freight and traffic were carried by steamboats, and railroad was established in 1868. But however, they've been evolved when they've been thriving towards destinations. You know what I mean? It's always the good countryside. And plus Napa has always have like a Napa Soda Springs, you know what I mean? Since like the 1850s. Because, you know, everything was real about Napa. You know what I mean? Everything is, you know? Something you can tell, something you can believe in about the real people. And Napa Opera House, they've been there for a while too, you know? They've been started up to the most years in the Napa days, you know? Since the 19th century. You know what I mean? And Napa High, they've been started at the most too. You know what I mean? And Napa used to have one of those oldest high schools and oldest elementary schools they've been built, like a vintage elementary school. They've been there the most when they have to started. But it used to have it, but not anymore. But if you guys know all of the histories about the 1800s shit or that ever just been going on, you know, just put down in the comment below. And excuse my language. Sorry about that, you know. The S words should have been known about that one. So it's alright. But I'll just excuse me the good languages that they need to know. But however, there is more information than that we can talk about the good old roots about how Napa is. You know what I mean? In that Tolia Fair, they used to have Bloomingdale, Zach and Taylor, and then there was like a good old market to the ABC market, and then they used to have one of those good restaurants and Mexican restaurants there. Used to evolve for a long time too. But however, they didn't evolve since like the 1960s. But storages, they've been there for a while too in Napa, you know? Napa has one of those most empty fields ever seen because all that they care is like disasters for floods. And all they care is about like ranches and then all those empty fields there have been where all of those wheat areas and then all those good good product foods. They can provide any good stuff they can eat. Like corn meats and corn meals and beer and something like that, like Corona or kind of like that. You know, we're the people. We the people. We're seem like the how realistic of what we have to. You know, Napa State Hospital has already been built already, and then that's when before Queen of the Valley was built, like in 20th century. That's been going on. Cars and automobiles, and that's been like since 1900s and the 20th century. They've been started off since like when they were in the next road of Sasko, where they used to have like Toyotas, Hondas, and all that. There's plenty of them in the room of the area, but there's plenty because there is a lot of plenty people there. They've been live on in the most days. All they do is just electronics. All they do is just do some cool scoops about like those notes and writing emails and mails and stuff. That's 19th century. You know what I mean? It's kind of like text messages or whatever, but all they do is just do what they have and that they earn all the living. What they have. But it's still pretty cool because, like Napa is just always a small city, like it used to be small. But now it's growing bigger now. Napa is such a like adult city. I like this city, but it's helping in all those wineries they started. But don't forget, Charles Krug is one of the biggest wineries that they've been started since like 1858 or 59. They've been started going on since then. You know what I mean? Okay, and here's more stories that we're going to talk about more about Napa Valley. So, all of this, it's going to be really cool. So we know Napa State Hospital started since 1875, so they opened at that time. And then in 1897 is Napa High. So that's been started going on before vintage since like 1960s. That's when they got started. And then we know Napa Opera House, so they just started since 1879. But we thought it was going to be like 1850s. But they built up as minstrels and all of those buildings that they used to have there. And comedians areas, They've been there for the process in the most years in Napa. But it's pretty a long time and you used to know about that stuff. But in the meantime, there is a lot of people there have been going on in this county. And the rest of the people there have been, been having clean crimes that they've been left without it. But they've been have a good city like that before, but it's not that bad. But now, however, Napa had become the primary business and economic center for Napa Valley by the dawn of the 20th century. San Francisco, Napa, and Calistoga Railway was established in 1905 for passengers and freight services, and railroad to carry passengers for ferry boats to Napa stops in Napa to other locations in the valley. But they've been used to it when they lived there for a while. But however, they used to build the 7K Laundry building since 1825. That's one of the oldest buildings ever seen before they got damaged by the earthquake. That's the place that was been going on before. You know what I mean? It's been a long time when they used to build it. But however, in 1903, Napa Glove Factory was established there. And especially that Magnavox Odyssey was usually started since 1910s to 20s. When they usually evolved televisions and media and stuff. It's a lot. It's a lot of things to do when they come out with some corporations and companies. You know what I mean? Napa has a lot of corporations for a long time. And one restaurant in Napa, for a Chinese restaurant, used to have been there for a long time too. That's the one of the most populous ever. You know what I mean? Before, there used to be like a little less restaurants, like Charles or something like that. I don't know. I don't even know that stuff. Before my sister owns a restaurant, so if you could check it out. But I'll tell you, and then, but you can give me a comment if you want, or I'll let you know about everything. So it should be cool. And however, but there's more that they can come up, and besides the Napa Glove Factory, there's more. There's the worst sandwiches boards to the location to immigrants, to the chain immigration to factory jobs in the town, not to the own land for farming. Edwin Pinham and Peter Arnold Jensen invented the moving coil loudspeakers in 1915 in their Napa workshop while working on an improvement for the telephone receiver. We know Magnavox Odyssey Company was started since 1917. That's when it started. And then didn't know that was the company. They were just started before they moved to the different city. But it's just such a great business when they used to have there. But it's pretty crazy, you know. It's been really cool there. In 1905, Napa had profits and primarily concentrated on and around Clinton Street. And we know the Napa, you already have the Maxwell Bridge. Maxwell Bridge was been there since like when they built it in the 1850s. That's like the San Francisco Bridge, you know? It's kind of like San Francisco Bridge, but it's a really nice bridge and a nice peaceful area, you know? It's pretty nice that they have that people could take pictures to it. It's really nice. And then in flood control, that was been going on since like 1944, and then they crossed the dam when they were been destroyed since like 1862. All of this is pretty worse when they started up, and then they rebuild new houses again when they go over and over. You know what I mean? You know, like in the total in the 19th century, it was about like 100 houses. And in the 20th century, it was like 1,000 to 3,000 houses. But it was a lot because, you know, in the 20th century, and then the 21st century was like a lot. It was like 4,000 or more, you know, because Napa has one of those famous houses ever seen, you know, like we're talking about like how good houses are been bigger as it evolved when they used to be a small city, you know, like the economic was better when they come up better, you know what I mean? Then that's how it works, you know, when they started some like really good peaceful place when they had start going on the river plan and the coalition representing business and agricultural and environmental concerns to archive in the constitutions. You know what I mean? It's something that had to deal with all those temptations and to live in Napa, you know? Napa is just fulfilled with everything. They fulfilled with everything with what they come from. And that's where the peaceful people in Napa, they've been live on. You know what I mean? And however, and in addition to the development plan and encompassing several blocks in downtown Napa's retail property was undertaken by the city of the early 1970s. The project failed, produced the sanitary returns and investment as the most residents of their shopping to original shopping malls like Fairfield, Concord, and Santa Rosa, while much in the downtown redevelopment individualized. Well, Napa was supposed to become like a mall, but it never got rejected because Napa Mall was supposed to become like something successfully, but it didn't happen. But well, in that case, but Napa used to be like Little Italy, but when they have like a downtown size when they used to build, but it's not that bad, but they used to have compadres and then they have like a really good restaurants that they even eat of, you know, like for long-term days when they used to have it for like a long time, and then, but in the meantime, there is a lot of good downtown places they can be able to eat, and then you have like the old school gyms like before, like when they started in downtown Napa. That was all like 1900s, when they have started like gymnastics because people need healthy when they have to do exercise. All is because, Burger King, McDonald's, and White Castle, and then also those crazy foods that they've been going on since when they Napa used to have White Castle, but not anymore. It's been a long time when people they have to deal with exercise. Gymnastics that they've been started going on when they have it downtown, and then later they've been move around some good things they have to do come up like a great idea to cooperate each others to feed their food and feed their own destiny and and feed their own perfect way that you can start like the opportunity with all the good food that they can eat. All they can eat is just eat whatever they want to. But if you want to walk, but it's all good, Like walking is a very good exercise, a lot of people walk since like 19th century, but I just care about walking too, It's part of the century too, but it's not that bad, like every century they just care for food, like when they have to. But just be careful when you have to eat like one of those limited company foods for franchises. But Napa's always used to have Kmart and then different like ABC markets or whatever. But pretty cool. And then later was a Walmart and Target. You know what I mean? Target was been there since like 1960s. Napa never had a market like that before. It's been in like a ritual market since like Napa used to be like the funkier city because they've been have like one of those segregations and funny shows about like black people and plus they poke fun of like those colored and whites only, they done it in the past for like different states, but sometimes California, but it's a little bit weird when they go on, and then civil rights they've been going on since '60s, but something that has been changed, about the civil rights, like when they connect Mexican people, like for us, or rest of the people, we've been here for like most of the earth in Napa, that includes like one of my great grandfather's relative sides, you know what I mean? There's where my Cisneros family that were just evolved. Like when we used to part of like Mexico City, Canada, or Atlanta, or and also the different different ritual cities, or especially Los Angeles. But they have been been there like when they have the most part of the city. There was a lot of evolve that could happen with my family or everything. It's always been a good family because Altamura's family are the most pioneer family in that the most because they have the larger pack of people when they want to get along with people. There is a lot of people they have to just coordinate from something better with they evolve. And plus today's famous musics for Napa that has been going on is me as Zika Lazaresi, and then we got Kid Fashion, Cinema the Indian, and then plus we got Olivia O'Brien as well. So it should be in there too. And we know Napa is always a hot and cold city, but it doesn't deserve the mind if you see if it's raining or whatever. But it's a good city, it's always a good and they have the noble people so far. They have Larry Allen, Lisa Benedictini, Jerry Bolander, Phil Bonifield, John Boyette, he's a football player. Larry Allen's a football player too. Warren Brusstar, he's a baseball player. Bill Buckner, baseball player. Cristina Garcia, novelist. Mike Gibson, NFL for the Cardinals. Steve Hendrickson, NFL player. Adam Housley, Fox News reception. Josh Jackson, NBA player. Joe Climack, MLB player for the Milwaukee Brewers. John Melendez, MLB player. Ray Manzarek, the member of the Doors. Scott McCarron, the golfer. Peter Menzel, photographer. Johnny Miller, golfer. Donnie Robinson, the Olympic BMX medalist, bronze. Andrew Talansky, professional cyclist for Cannondale Gammon. Shirley Walker, film score composer. And also Charles Woodson. But Charles Woodson used to live somewhere in Ohio. But now he lives in Napa because he owns Charles Woodson Winery. You know what I mean? But it's pretty cool when they got Charles Woodson in here in Napa. Just to know most of the living here in the city. You know what I mean? And we got the cooler musicians going on in Napa, and plus they got Austin Lorraine as a great legend of a musician for the Napa because he's been part of the living too. Because most of the Lorraine's families they've been have the most likely in the family to live on there too. You know what I mean? And now people they have shown for love for all those good people. They evolved for elementary schools too, because they built a lot since like in the 20th century, and that was about it. Because there is a lot of people there have been incorporating to themselves, you know. And then they gave out for everything. Well, what they done for the houses, and then commercials, industrials, you know. They gave out for everything when they built like constructions and stuff, you know. And then also Napa has an airport, and only just a little bit of the small airport, but not too much. But it's just always a good airport that they have so far. And Napa has a Vine bus that you can travel on, but they've been started up since downtown Napa days, since like the 20s or 1910s. But that was been the good times when transportation to there have been like evolve a lot. You know, Napa is such a like economic busy place because it's always been like a great city that they've been evolved a lot. You know what I mean? And the Mexicans, they've been increased for Napa for decades. You know what I mean? Because we've been here for like the most part of the city that we have here. And we're here just to support and have the good wineries and to live on and have jobs. Because that's the people, we the people. You know? We're the we the people's idea in the United States. You know what I mean? And then demand that, especially black people too. You know, they've been increased too. But mostly they've been living here in Napa. But Napa used to be like the urban places in the 70s to 90s. You know what I mean? Because all the grass is greener and the economic was big a little bit, but not too much. You know, that's all like family friendly living, you know? Mostly like family friendly living, you know, they've been there for cross time years before the tourist was increasing, and then the casuals, vanilla and cheesy, you know, they never increased like that. Those people like that since like, you know, 2000 late. You know what I mean? But in the year 2000, there was been in a year from the earthquake that was been going on, but it's worse. It was like 5.0 something. But it's pretty worse. In 2014, they had an earthquake too. You know, it's pretty worse when they had an earthquake lately. But things have changed, you know, when they have like the worst evolvements for like earthquakes and floods, and then sometimes thunderstorms like PG&E powers, you know, in California. But there's been a lot of problems that have been going on lately for the rest of to their lives when they've been going on and living in Napa. But you know, if you love to live in Napa, you know, as an expensive city, you know, you have to just watch your own business that you have to evolve in, because you know, God is everything where we have grapes. You know what I mean? God is living all those good company that we have you live on. You know, it's still good living, and it's still great business to greet each other. You know what I mean? Ask my people about it. You know, you should ask them. Ask them what they have to do. You know, it's not that bad. You can just get used to all those good communications that you want to live on in the history times. But however, but Big D Burgers was been there too, you know, like since the 50s. You know what I mean? And then plus they've been have like a really good foods that they've been there for like 20s and 30s, and then some Napa marketplaces they've been going off like for decades. You know what I mean? And then plus there's been some like spent some time looked at some like Jack in the Box and drive-throughs. You know, they've been part of the market. You know, that's been going on. And they upgraded to the movie theater when they got up like 2012, when they have more South Market places and exercise buildings too, like in shape. Planet Fitness is also there too when they have like a small mini plazas there too. Well, they've been there for a while too. And right now they have grocery outlets, because grocery outlets is also outnumbered besides Kmart and ABC Market. You know what I mean? Even Sears too, you know. Sears used to be there, but not anymore. But it's been small when Napa was been small without all those big size markets. Especially like Dairy Queen, because Dairy Queen was been there too. You know? If you want to know about history and remember all those places you remember, put the comments down below. Just to remember, if you know everything about Napa, like the good old times, since if you know all your relatives that they've been there living in Napa, put the comments down below. And put them everything what you can, because I only born in 1994. I just raised here in Napa since like 1994. So I've been here for like most of the time of the living when I was been there. You know, I've been enterprising. I'm just trying to enterprise the world and enterprising the SimCity talks. You know what I mean? Talking about commercials, residentials, industrials, and places. So that's my thing that I came to talk about. Like, is very good histories about the good old Napa days. You know. And that's about it. So thank you very much for watching this video of the very good early history of Napa, California. And thank you for watching. Thank you for watching this on YouTube. So subscribe me if you can. If you're really good at that stuff. So just let me know. Let the comments below. Thank you.